In 2006, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut was released. This was a film that had been rumoured for many a year. We'd been told about how Donner had originally shot most of the film. 75% of the film was replaced by director Richard Lester. And then this film just essentially got buried. And the thought that a Donner cut would be out there was on the minds of many Superman fans over the years, who petitioned, in much the same way the Snyder Cut was petitioned, to have it released. Donner was actually quite reluctant to begin with, but was eventually won over due to fan support. And yeah, we got it. He managed to sit down with all the old footage that was discovered in England and recut the film. Now, unfortunately, there are a few scenes in here that still have stuff that Lester shot, because of that 25% that Donner wasn't able to shoot, obviously Lester went, shot it, and then, yeah, Donner's had to use some of it in order to bridge certain gaps. However, for the most part, this is more in line with the vision that he set out with when he originally shot the film. And I gotta say, it's much better. Much better. If you've seen my review of the theatrical cut of Superman 2, well, then you'll know my thoughts on that film were not particularly high. As a child, they were, not so much now. Seeing this cut of the film, I have to say, I'll never watch the theatrical cut again. Is this perfect? No, it's not. There are issues. One is, and this is out of director Richard Donner's control, really, because the ending of this film, we have Superman doing the whole travelling back through time thing. Now, that's because it wasn't originally meant for the first film, it was meant for this one. So, yeah, after the first film was released, if Donner had stayed on, he would have made a different ending to the one we get here. But as this is the one that was shot, he puts it on here, which essentially means we get the same ending for both Superman 1 and Superman 2, which essentially means the exact thing that most people should have been thinking when they saw the original ending for Superman 1, which is, whenever anything happens that Superman doesn't like, he can just undo it by travelling back through time, which was always the problem with that ending in the first Superman film. Once you've done it, you will always be able to do it. Now, that being said, there are a lot of things in this film that were reshot by Lester for the theatrical version and made worse. And here they get kind of, as I say, they get renewed, they get restored, and for the better. Pretty much across the board, to be honest. For one thing, all the crappy slapstick humour that Lester brought has for the most part been removed. People's toupees getting blown off and things like that. Just sight gags that are just like, yeah, great. Great as a kid, not so much now. They're gone, which I really enjoy. I like the more serious tone that Donner brought to the original film, and we get more of that here. He sticks with the respect for the material. This film is 11 minutes shorter than the theatrical cut, which again is better. You feel that pace. The pacing is a lot faster. We get to where we need to be without dragging our heels. I feel like the events that happen in this film happen in a more organic way. So with the theatrical version, I felt like information was given to various characters in ways that, like, oh, well, that was conveniently given, wasn't it? Whereas in this one, because of the way it's edited, characters get certain information at different times to what they did in the theatrical cut. So it feels more like, oh, that's groundwork that's been set up, which that character will then be able to play on later, rather than just handing them information at the exact time that they need it. I feel like there are consequences for decisions that are made in this film. So Superman giving up his powers. There's a whole sequence with Marlon Brando, which is a centerpiece of the film, to be honest. It is so the The fact that the Salkinds cut this because they didn't want to pay Brando is staggering to me, because it is the heart of the film. So when Superman gives up his powers, he has a whole conversation about it with his father, with Jor-El. And it's a weighty scene that is thematically rich, because when you think about Superman, often you can't escape the Christ allegory. We look at a lot of the stuff with the Superman story and how it relates to Christ, although technically it really relates to Moses, because Schuster and Siegel were Jews. So if anything, they were probably aping the story of Moses. But you can't escape it anyway. You can't escape the Christ allegory when you're looking at Superman. Now, what they do here is they take that Christ allegory in all of its fullness and they say, okay, what if Christ shirked his responsibility? What if the Father sent the Son to earth to do what he needed to do, and the Son said, I don't want to do it. I'm gonna live my life for me. I'm gonna settle down with this woman. That's essentially what happens here, and because of that, there are consequences. And when Superman sees that he's made the wrong choice, sees that he's made a mistake, it has more weight to it. Essentially, he realizes he's made a mistake in the same time frame, the same kind of time frame that he does in the theatrical cut. But because of this conversation between him and his father, once he realizes that mistake, it hits harder emotionally, because of the character depth, the growth, the journey that he's been on. Also, when he comes back to reclaim his powers, to try and get his powers back, that comes at a cost. It comes at a price. It's like, if you want your powers back, your father is gone. In order to get your powers back, Jor-El, all the knowledge, all the stuff that's stored in the fortress, that has to die. So there's consequences. Actions have consequences. That's the point of the film. That's pretty much the message of the film. A message that, for me, in the theatrical cut, is completely lost, because that scene, that pivotal scene, is gone, and instead we get a half-assed kind of love story in which choices are made seemingly on the fly without any real depth of thought to them. So the scene in this film, which again, like in the theatrical cut, we had Superman clumsily falling over, or Clark Kent clumsily falling over, slipping into a fire, and then Lois finds out it's Superman. It didn't feel like that would happen from someone with his ability and power and whatnot, that he would just clumsily fall over. Here, that is erased with the help of using some footage that was shot during some test footage. When they first get actors together and get them to do test screenings, they use that footage to put a scene together in which Lois shoots Clark Kent. She's so convinced that he is Superman that she pulls the trigger. We learn soon after that she's firing blanks. One that does raise the question, why wouldn't Superman realise? Because don't forget, we did see this guy in the first film catch a bullet. He literally caught a bullet in the first film to stop Lois getting shot. So why didn't he try to catch the bullet in this one and realise, oh, there is no bullet? That aside, I'll let it go. I'll let it slide. I still think this works better than Superman clumsily falling into a fire. Because one, it shows a bit more initiative and focus on Lois's part, in the sense that, her reporting skills are coming to the fore. She's confident. She has enough confidence to play this gamble that pays off. So she is finding out who Superman is based on her intellect and her ability, rather than him being just a clumsy oaf. And two, it is a scene that has ultimately more conflict as a result of that, because You've got Superman, Clark Kent, going up against Lois, trying to deny who he is, trying to push her off the track, and her proving that actually, no, I was right to stick by my guns, other than, again, as I say, her just finding out by accident. So a much better scene, much better reveal, that does a lot more with the characters. Just having John Williams back as well, doing the score, it brings back the gravitas that his score brought from the first film, that more epic feel. It doesn't feel like a tinny, toned down version of what he was doing in the first film, which is what we've got in the second. As I say, all the elements are back. It just raises the game. Now, I personally don't think that this is quite as good as the first film. I still like that epic nature of the first film, the broad scope that it has, though I do think this is much better paced, and has a lot more kind of focus on its principal kind of story, so to speak. The first one seemed a lot more sprawling. There's a lot of scenes in there that actually you could have taken out altogether because they get readdressed here, so you didn't need them. But I do like that journey of seeing Superman go from a baby to a boy to a young man to full-on Superman. Here you get more action. You got 3 superpowered villains. As I say, I think it just depends which sensibility you come down on more. Are you all more about the story and the character, in which case I think the first film takes the edge, or do you want the action and the spectacle, in which case I think the second film takes the edge? I don't think there's a right or wrong there. I think it's just personal preference. I think both films ultimately are kind of equal. I would have loved to have seen what Superman 1 looked like had this all kinds not interfered and forced Donna into a corner of having to put his Superman 2 ending onto the end of that film. But yeah, definitely better, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm going to give this a 3.5 out of 5, possibly a 4. I think if I watch this again at some point, it's close, 3.5, 4. But I'm going to go with 3.5 for now, just because, as I say, it's not a perfect film, and a lot of that is probably down to the fact that Donner didn't film 100% of it. He still had to work within the confines of not having all the footage that he would have done had he actually managed to shoot it all. So I'll give him, I'll give him that. But yeah, definitely better. 3.5 out of 5 from me. But what about you? What do you think of the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2? Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Which one do you think is better, theatrical or Donner cut? And until next time, crack it.